Hello, I'm Stacey Gregg, and I'm writing the UK response to the birth festival, the birth debate. Um, Looking at some questions here. Where do I live now? I'm working and writing right now in London, but I also live and work in Dublin. Um, why are you writing for the birth project? Because it's a subject that is fascinating and affects everyone, obviously, because we're all born. And also, uh, it seems quite sort of underrepresented. It's not talked about maybe as much as you'd expect. And it's such a touch paper for discussions about provision and access and inequality. What is the main issue in health inequality around birth in your country? I feel really lucky to be writing the UK response because we've got lots to be happy about, lots to celebrate. We've got it pretty good, I think. But also alongside that, there's a book called The Spirit Level that talks about this very eloquently, and it's the idea that even in affluent countries, if there is a sort of relative inequality within that country, so if the gap between the richest and the poorest is very large, you can see a lot more social and health problems than you might in a country that's poorer but is more fair and more equal. And I think the UK is definitely up there in the rankings alongside places like America in terms of its relative inequality and a big gap between the rich and the poor. And maybe related to that a little bit is within the same country, so within the UK, women in Northern Ireland, for example, are in a situation where they have to travel and pay to have an abortion. So they don't have the same experience as women in Britain. The other big issue, I think, is that we're in a culture where the age of first-time mothers has just hit 30 for the first time. We're waiting longer to have babies. And that means that there are more complications and more challenges facing mothers and maternity units who themselves are already under increasing pressure because of government changes and the dismantling, really, of the NHS. There's plenty of issues to be getting on with, I think, from a UK perspective. What next? What is the main issue in health inequality around birth? Nope, I just answered that. Have you found anything particularly interesting or surprising about the topic of birth through your research? I think, funny, just going back to the first question, it's how little it's talked about. It really struck me in having these conversations how much I wanted to hear and how little we seem to talk about it. It was like a secret mother's club suddenly when you realise all this information and things that I feel like we should kind of know or be aware of. And I just wonder if that's a sort of historical thing where we just haven't talked about childbirth in the same way that certain discussions around women's bodies have been a bit taboo. So we still don't really talk about periods or female masturbation in the same way as a lot of other things that are just to do with the body and quite everyday, So that I think that's quite interesting. I'm really excited about hearing all the voices in the room at the festival and really sort of just blowing that discussion open. Do you think global health equality is possible? Sadly, no, under the current sort of global capitalist structure. All the research and statistics sort of point towards a deepening inequality. But, and I'm really no expert in this, but as I understand it, new systems can often emerge from old systems naturally. And so my hope would be that as we become more connected and more globalized and digitized, what we'll see is hierarchical, horizontal, networked, connected communities challenging the sort of old top-down hierarchical power structure. And I think that's something that we're seeing more of, and maybe not in my lifetime, but that might be the key to a future that is flatter and fairer. That would be great. But yeah, ever the optimist. I think that's it. So I hope that was clear, and I hope you enjoy all the other resources on the website, and I really hope to see everybody at the Birth Festival. I am really looking forward to it. So thank you for watching, and see you soon.